Hi all, welcome back to the channel. So another video that we're actually going to have a look at is around AI vulnerability scanning. So AI vulnerability scanning is a very important topic because, same as rate limiters, if you actually have vulnerabilities in your images, your containers, anything that you're basically running AI with, you could have serious implications for your application and for your users. So you want to make sure that you have no vulnerabilities running um, and performing security checks randomly. Some people do it actually as part of a pipeline, but performing security checks randomly definitely kind of helps keep your vulnerabilities at a low point. So there's kind of a few kind of tools that I want to kind of look at like today. One is definitely looking at Trivy. So Trivy is by Security. It's an open source vulnerability and security scanner for containers, file systems, and code repositories. It's one of the most popular. Trivy is one of those tools that, as it's open source, it's randomly used. But it does actually kind of find CVEs and misconfigurations and secrets and things. Um, and it's really kind of good for containers, images, and Kubernetes and anything that kind of runs on AI. It can be, quite a kind of powerful tool when it's actually combined with Docksec. So, um, I want to kind of just kind of run that command first of all. So there's various ways that you can actually kind of, compare Trivy versus Docksec. So you'll sort of see them here. But if you kind of come down here, I've kind of listed out a kind of a few of those kind of areas here. Again, I'm kind of running in a virtual environment here, but let's sort of say that you basically have a basic actual Docker here that you want to run the Trivy latest Trivy image against Python 3.10, for example. So if I kind of take that command here and I run it here, basically what will actually happen is um, it will actually kind of remove the Docker image after running, but it will actually kind of scan this Python 3.10 Docker image for vulnerability. So um, I'm sure you can kind of output this to a file as well. But there's, kind of other ways that you can kind of run. You can run, it against file systems, and I've kind of listed down here some common use cases. How to scan a local Docker image and everything, and a lot of these can just be kind of played with. So you can actually just kind of see output results in JSON. Here. You can kind of play with these. I think this kind of image for Trivy gets kind of updated quite randomly in the sense where maybe the kind of commands as well get a little bit kind of updated. So by the time I kind of publish this, maybe the kind of commands are slightly kind of different, but generally the kind of same idea here is, so if you kind of just, this time I'm just going to do like a Docker run. I'm going to get the latest Trivy image if it doesn't exist, and then I'm going to run it against Python 3.10. So if I kind of do that, you'll sort of see because I've ran it kind of previously, it sort of said first thing it sort of said is no need to update. Sorry, need to update the DB, but the actual DB would technically be kind of updated. So it sort of says that it's actually downloading the DB, but it's not going to download an awful lot. But you can sort of see it's actually kind of downloading artifacts here, which are just kind of types of kind of files as well. But you'll sort of see here, like this vulnerability scanning is enabled, secret scanning is enabled if your scanning is slow. So you get all these kind of information about, um, what you're kind of running against here. Um, and when this kind of finishes, you'll sort of see that it, kind of gives you this kind of report here, gives you kind of output, where basically it's kind of found um, vulnerabilities, possible vulnerabilities, and you can kind of check the severity of these, generally people will kind of look for these types of things here. Open SSH client, so control characters in names can lead to code execution via, and you can kind of search for this CVE here, which is a vulnerability here, and you can kind of search for it and find out a lot more kind of information about it. But a lot of people will kind of go through these kind of types of reports like for login and open SSH and things, um and they'll kind of see which vulnerability basically has the kind of high priority, and then they kind of fix those, like SSHD here, you definitely wouldn't want something out in public with kind of SSH vulnerabilities, but just to see there's something here for, kind of passwords, right? So, shadow passwords and things like that, and, insecure permissions, but it kind of gives you a good kind of output of, various kind of tools, commands, anything that's basically in that actual Docker image, and you can sort of see here, you can kind of work your way through, and you'll sort of see it kind of gives you a nice kind of output at the end here that sort of says, well, you've actually got kind of two medium vulnerabilities here. You don't have any high and you don't have any critical. Critical, as the name suggests, they are critical. They have to be kind of resolved straight away. Um, but you can sort of see here, it kind of gives you kind of more information about kind of Python here as well, and kind of gives you, information here, this kind of link you can kind of click in, and, you can kind of check what this vulnerability is about and how to kind of resolve it. And generally, when you kind of click into the links and everything, they will give you an actual kind of resolution on how to actually kind of resolve it. So a lot of the times you can actually resolve, vulnerabilities in Docker images just by kind of actually rebuilding the latest image. That's one way. And then, sort of see what vulnerabilities remain. So that's kind of the report here of Trivy. And then what you can kind of do here is, if you kind of look at Docksec then kind of as a part two. So if you kind of open up Docksec here, you can kind of come down here, and we can just see here, here's kind of Docksec, and basically I've kind of put this down as kind of part two here. So, it's more of a kind of AI powered security analyzer here for Docksec. You can actually kind of combine these two, so you can actually kind of output like a Trivy output and kind of send a report over to Docksec, and Docksec can basically kind of process that kind of report from Trivy as well. So you can kind of use these um tools together. But Docksec here, if you kind of go back to what kind of Docksec is, it's an AI powered Docker security analyzer. So um I've kind of put up at the top here, the kind of the key differences between it. It kind of gives more, let's sort of say, enriched findings with AI explanations. You know, um, anything here that sort of says, it actually kind of helps us, because you can kind of think that if you actually had kind of DocSec running in some type of pipeline, having the kind of AI explanations as well kind of will kind of help you maybe kind of be able to kind of resolve those vulnerabilities kind of quicker. But you can kind of come down here, and there's different ways. Again, you can actually kind of use DocSec here. You know, one way to is just kind of pip install DocSec, and then you can sort of see there's conditional arguments that you can basically pass into DocSec. So just here's kind of some samples here, so you can do DocSec your Docker file, and the kind of, so this analyzes like the both the Docker file and the image, and then you can do DocSec image only, and then you can kind of do is a DocSec AI only for your Docker file. You can also kind of output the reports and save the kind of reports out somewhere, and again, these kind of commands may not be 100%. You'd have to kind of check in the latest documentation for DocSec, but you'll sort of see that you can actually kind of create a few kind of reports here. You can run DocSec against certain kind of web services and things, and you can do this like scan an image only here with DocSec, and then kind of pass in kind of combine Trivy. So here you can kind of do your Docker, and then kind of pass in your image here for Trivy that you were kind of doing, and then the image that you actually want to kind of scan, and you can now put it to like a JSON format here file, and you can then incorporate like DocSec into kind of GitHub and everything. But if you open the DocSec documentation here, which is really kind of well done from Advad, I mean, you can sort of see it's open source here, so you could actually kind of make any kind of updates that you require here. Um, it explains what it is, this kind of features that it basically has. Has a beautiful kind of architecture diagram here, which has the kind of, the flow. Um, let's see, they have two P's, but they basically have the kind of flow here, on how it kind of works. So it's really kind of well done here, for your CLI orchestrator here. So, um, yeah, I mean, it just kind of shows you what I kind of showed you there. What actually happens when you actually get it installed. You basically get all of these kind of tools following dependencies will be automatically installed, and your OpenAI configuration here. Some basic examples here for your Docksec. So it's well worth kind of going through the documentation here. You can also kind of set it in kind of debug mode. And there's an example video here. So I had actually kind of installed Docksec, and I found a few issues when I kind of was running it in dependencies on kind of langchain. So it could just be the kind of a virtual environment that I'm basically running on. So I'm hoping that, if you were to kind of install this DocSec on a real environment, that basically you wouldn't have the types of kind of dependency issues. Langchain was one that, I had to kind of downgrade Langchain and OpenAI packages. But it's worth to actually have a look at DocSec and see what it can actually kind of do for you as well. So, okay, thank you.